Fitzy here, back at it again with another one. And this is one I've been wanting to do for some time now, and I haven't got the chance of finding one, okay? Because it's something we done a lot back in the day in the collision industry. There was a time we didn't replace complete doors. We had to replace what they called a door skin, okay? I have one here. We're going to go over now the steps that I use to install these on an actual door. So stick around. So here's what we're at now. I have a door here off probably a 69, 70 Roadrunner. And it has some major rust repair in this corner here, okay? Now, most times, a lot of the videos you've seen me, I've replaced these corners and done patchwork and everything on it. I've done a lot of videos on that. This one here is going to be a little bit different, okay? What we have here is an actual, basically, complete door. I have over here a replacement door skin. Okay, this is something that I found we did a lot back in the day when we done collision work. There was a lot of times insurance would only cover a door skin replacement. They wouldn't allow us to replace an entire door. Today, everything has airbags, side impact bars, all this type of stuff, and so insurance companies now basically, if you got a door that's beat up, the airbags are gone. The vehicle's most likely rode off. Okay. And most times now to replace the complete door. It's not something that you see a lot, but you still see it in the restoration world. A lot of people are trying to keep as much original panels on a car as possible, especially like a lot of the Mopar guys are right into that. And I find that they want to basically replace the actual, instead of repairing this here, they want a complete door skin put on it. This one here is pretty bad because she got this up here as well. This is all buggered up and busted up as well. And you know, I'm going to say this, but all the bottom of this here seems pretty good. It's a bit of a surface rust along here. But the other side is where we're going to find a lot of the rust that we got to be concerned about. So here's what we're up against. I do have some panels here. You can see here there's some work that got to be replaced here, and there's a rubber grommet here, but there's rust on the inside here. But you can see now the rust is along here. There's a bit of surface rust in here. And of course along the bottom here, the lip is bad in terms of surface rust along here, okay? So the plan is now we're going to replace all this. Now how these door skins are put on, this piece here is actually, this piece comes straight on the panel. As you can look here, here's that section right here. It's all straight coming up along here, and there's the bottom lip there, and it's the same on the other side over here, as well as up on this top section up here. Now all this stuff here has to be shaped over and welded on after the fact. As you can see here, it's all folded over. You can actually see the lip all the way down through here. Now there's little spot welds all along here. Now, how to remove these door skins, it's always been an art in itself. Like, you don't overthink these. You don't try to peel all this back because you're going to destroy everything. All we does is we just grinds off this lip here, grinds this off here and gets the actual skin out of the way. Then this here can be lifted up and you can find all the spot welds and you can find out where they're to and you can cut them off and just remove the section, okay? So this is what we're going to be at here now. You can see up along here, all this section along here. The actual piece up here is all folded over and dolly down. So we got to grind all this off here, down along here, all along here. All this here got to be grinded off. So I'm going to go ahead now and set this up, get the grinder out, and start grinding all this off so we can actually get this door skin apart and cleaned up. Now, if you can see here, I'm grinding it off, and you can see there's a line I can see. Okay, this is separating the outer skin from the middle and from the inner section of the door, okay? And I'll just keep grinding that off like this. You can actually see the actual skin letting go along there. And I'll continue with this process all the way around the door. So I grinded it all along the edge there. Down here it actually let go. You can actually see here, now the inner lip is still there. This one here, I still got to work on getting that off it. But for now, I got the skin all let go all the way along here. I got to see how much trouble it is now to get up, to let it go from up here, because I noticed that this is not even welded on here. So that there's let go there. So this here got to slide up in order for this to come off. So what I got to do now is I'm going to work on lifting this up now and see if I can get that skin out of the way. And get it clear so they can actually start cleaning up the inside. Whoops! I gotta let go all the latch over. I get that let go there now. Get the door skin off. I got that all let go. Now it should come off. Usually you're supposed to remove all that, don't you? All I had over here is I had this little the actual door handle itself and the actual lock. I'm going to leave all this on this door skin here. That way he can look after it later on. And all the pieces are there that bolt on and all the bits are there, okay? And I went and put the clip back on the actual latch itself. But here's what you're left with. You can see there's been a repair done to this before. The rivet's been done on it. Now, here's the thing. I have numerous times people come to me and say, Tony, what are you going to do about the bare metal in the side? What are you going to do about the bare metal inside? Now, this door was not rusty up here, okay? This door was perfect up here. This is what it's like. When you take apart a car, this is what you're going to see underneath it. Look, that's rust. Back in the 60s and so far into the 70s, all the cars were assembled in bare steel. And then all this stuff and paint was added after, okay? This was a problem they had in the 60s. It was fixed and remedied later on in the 70s. But this is what you're running into, okay? This was all bare metal going down through here. And you can actually look right here. If you look closely, that's all bare metal and it's not rusted. Look. Bare metal in along there, okay? You can actually see the shiny of the metal there. You get the light on it a certain way, you can actually see the actual bare metal. Now, if this was a 70, that's there what? So that bare metal's been on this car 55 years, and this actually rusted out at one point or another. This is what you're running up against. This here is all original, okay? This is an original door off a Roadrunner from 1970. And this is what you're going to see. The door itself is the same way. I've taken apart a number of these old Chryslers. Ford was the same way, Chev was the same way, okay? When you dismantle the panels like this here, this is what you'll find. So, like, if you're restoring one of these cars and you're concerned about rust, this is what you're going to know about. This is all going to be there. Don't panic, because this is original. This is the way these were built. The key to restoring one of these cars is keep it as original as possible. So you're going to see some of this stuff on the car inside. Don't worry about oiling it up, because if you're restoring a car like this here, it's going to be kept in a warm garage. What kills these cars, okay, it won't rust. But if you're driving them in the wintertime, or daily, and road salt, and grime, and rain, and dirt, all that stuff there is what causes cars to rust out. These doors filled up with dirt, okay? The dirt got wet. The dirt held water, then the metal started to rust, okay? This is why this stuff always rusts out. It's not, you don't take a car and build it out of bare metal and then it's just going to start rusting. It's not how it works. It depends on the conditions you're going to drive it in. Now, if you're turning around and you're doing this same process to a vehicle of yours that's you're going to use for a daily driver and drive it winters, all this stuff here, the only way to save it is to spray oil in there, okay? Fill it up with oil. That's what saved these cars back in the day, is oiling up all inside the panels. Have oil seep down through these panels and seep down through them panels there. And keep the oil to it. Every 6 months, every year, putting oil on it. But this is what I want to point out. All old cars got rust in them, hidden in places that you're never going to see. This is what the inside of your door looks like on your 60s muscle car. All bare metal in there, look. All bare metal. All in along here. They sprayed it and they managed to get so much coating on it. There's actual bare metal right there. It's not rusted. It's rusted up along here. It's rusted down along here, all these corners. I'm going to clean all this all up here. And I'm going to put a rust converter on it all. If you want to, you can sandblast all this. I wasn't contracted to do that. I don't have a sandblaster here and I don't like to work. But you can actually see all this work here. This was original. So like if you went out and bought a 60s car and it's in mint condition, 10 chances to 1 just this surface rust is going to be on it in places. Hidden underneath the car. It's normal. This is the type of rust you probably see on a mint car. Like that is actual bare metal right there, look. All bare metal. And this is what you're going to come across, okay? But this door is in good shape. All the way along here. Over here we got an issue we got to address. I got to rebuild this corner here before I does anything else with it. But before I goes like that, I got to remove the remains of that lip on the bottom side of that there. So now these are welded on in places. Right here, I got to grind it off, and then this will peel up, and I just find each individual spot weld, and I'll peel it back, and I'll remove this section. Up here, all this here, nothing was welded on up here. Yeah, there's a bit of a weld up there, yep. There's a weld right there, so I got to get that out of there. And I'll start peeling all this stuff back and getting all the welds that go from these here. I'm not going to drill them out. I'm going to grind them and just remove them so that I can actually weaken them and clean them up that way. So all I'm going to do is grind off them spots. And I'm just going to use my air grinder. I have a stone put on it. I got a small one put on it. And all that is one of them that's wore down, okay? And I just like using the small ones because then I can get in tight places up here on the ends and stuff like that. And I have to worry about having a big old stone. Always hold on to these ones here because they're great for doing delicate work. I'm going to go ahead now and start tapping this up, spreading this apart, find out where all my spot welds are to, and take that apart. I always take an old air chisel tip. I like this big wide flat one. I always like this one here, and I just use it with a regular hammer. Usually you pick up a set of these, they're pretty cheap. I find it better than any old chisel you're ever going to have, regular chisel. These are great for because you can actually fit it in underneath the actual panel like so. And I'll go along here now. I'll tap it to find all the spots. Ooh, that one let go, look, that's fine. Sometimes they break off. That's fine. Maybe I won't have a grind on. This one there is tight. Hook that one out. So there's the piece that I took off, okay? There's the back side of it. Now, that's what you're running up against. You can see down here, all bare metal, and that all rusted out down there. There's all surface rust along there. That's the way these cars were built. And there's nothing you can do with it unless you take them all apart to do them. So I got all that let go, and I can repeat the process now and get all the rest of it off. And when we come back, I'll be ready to start cleaning all this stuff up. All that stuff's rusty. Along here is rusty. bare metal. Bare metal. It's very unusual what had he done. And then of course the bottom. But the bottom lip is still good. This is a really good shape, this is, right? Along here. So only when it gets even right to here, look, the stall's still good. But all along here now I gotta rebuild this section of the door skin itself. But I want to get all this cleaned up along here first. Get all this cleaned up, and so I can actually start prepping everything. And I'll just test fit the door skin, make sure everything fits good on it, and then I'll come back over and do this repair here. There's not a lot of spot welds holding these panels on. I think there was one here, and there was one here, and another one over here. So there's like only 3 spot welds on the bottom of the door. Up here along the side there was 1, 2, 3, 4. That was there. 5 up there. On this end here, there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 there. Down here now I was sizing up and noticed that there's an actual rubber grommets on these here that goes in here. There's one there. And there's another grommet that goes in here. I got it taken out. But this is all gone around this, so this is going to have to be replaced. So all I did is I ran tape along here so that it was onto the bottom side of the rolled edge. And along the bottom here, the way it's shaped. And over here I lined it up and I scribed it along here. And I cut out the hole. So now I got a template of the actual corner where the hole goes. So hopefully now this will come off in one piece. There you go. I got my template. I'll put that somewhere now. We're safe for now. Put this on the old shape truck. I'll bring that back later on now. And I'll have a spot where I can actually have the hole there, as you can see. The hole was too. I'll have to replace all this section here, but I'll have a template where it went. So I went ahead and I cleaned up all the edges inside and out, both sides here. Cleaned them all up, used a grinder, wire wheel, and a 24 grit to clean it up. This could be a place now, if you want to, you could take this out, have the whole thing sandblasted, dismantle everything out of it, have it all sandblasted if you want to do that. To me, I don't see no need of it because of the type of car it is and what it's going to be used on. All this here now that I got cleaned up here now, I'm going to end up doing rust converter on all this, and I'll probably do all the rest of it inside with rust converter. That'll save that the life of me, I can guarantee you that. All I used to clean it up, went over first with this here, 24 grit, then I cleaned it up, dug in a bit with using the actual cutting wheel, just slightly scraping it off, and then I went over it all then with a wire wheel. That's all I done to clean it up. So now before I get into doing these repairs here, because I'm going to repair this first, I'm going to do a test fit on the actual skin, make sure it fits good. So just doing the first test fit, went on really nice, just lay it on top of it there. It fit up here, now it has to be pulled down on this end here. There's a bit of a strain on the panel. I also noticed, like walking around and having a quick look at it, there is some damage right there on the door skin itself, right here. So I'm going to have to repair that before I put it together. Everything else I think looks pretty good all the way around it. Down the side here I think there's a little spot there somewhere. You can see a couple of little marks there along the edge there. Nothing to worry about. Yeah, the side over here looks pretty good. Oh, little dent there. Yeah, but that's the actual door skin just fitting in place. They fit really nice because over here you can see the way it just fits right down over the edge of the panel there, and that'll just roll in over there. What I'm going to do now, I'm just going to flip this upside down and have another look at it. There's no room for error, it only goes on one way. It fits really snug against the panel down through here. I find that there's a strain on it this way here, because I'm willing to say because of the way this here is straightened up, when this rolls over, this here will loosen up this edge, right? But there should be no troubles clamping that there. It just needs to be pulled up and clamped. Usually it just lays right on there, right smooth, but I can see there's a bit of a strain on this one, right? And it's because of this raised lip here. When this rolls over, it'll be fine. But you can see same with down the side here. All the way up around there. All fits nice. Put that down there. Yep. I'm very pleased with that. So now that I know the door skin is going to fit with no troubles. Up here you can see we're just overlapped straight nice here. I'll just fold that in along there. Fold this in down along here, it'll be all nice. All I got to do now is do the repairs of the rust that's down this corner here before I put the skin on. I want this here to be dressed and look original. I want to have this here so I haven't got to worry about doing any very little or no body work to it. So now it's time to build this section here. And I'm going to build that just simple, the way I've always built it. You could sit down and probably ought to press all this out and build a buck and do a whole bunch of things. But I'm just going to build simple. So I got the door skin taken off now, and I'm left with this big gaping hole. I went and dug out some scrap piece of steel, and I'm going to turn around and start shaping it now, cutting it out to trim it out. I'm going to cut this in sections. If you look at this picture here, you can actually see that the way it actually curves up around and then it fades off the edge. And there's an edge off it here and an edge off it here, but this here goes to a round edge on this side here. I'm going to turn around and build this in sections. I'm going to build this top flat section first and then the sides. You could sit down and try to beat all this up and try to shape all this, but I always found that when you're trying to roll these edges, you roll this edge and you roll this edge, and you'll find this edge here will be too far this way, or this edge here will be too far this way. Something like that. It'd be just something, and you'd be there trying to critique it to make it work right. And it's very hard to try to get everything just so by beating on it. You can do it. It just takes a lot of hours. I just find building it in sections and welding it together and grinding it up is a lot faster. So I'm going to go ahead now and start building all this. So as you can see, it was nothing fancy to that. I just went over, marked it, trimmed it, and just took my time. I grinded this inside edge so it fitting right nice in here. Right. Then I turned around and I cut off the length that I wanted and where I wanted to end down here. Then I worked down, looked for shapes, found an old top off a container, peanut butter, and got the round shape. I just kept looking at it to make sure that it was close where I wanted to, because this has to taper down off of this corner here, right? So now I got this piece here. I'm going to clean this up, clean up this edge here, clean up this piece of metal, and have it ready to go. Next thing I need to do then is I need to build these sections off it here and here, just come straight down, and weld them on. I'm going to taper this after. But all I'm concerned about right now is I'm going to have used this here as my template, and I'm going to overlap everything so that the distances from here to here are the same as what they are from here to the bottom side here, okay? So I'm going to go ahead now, clean that up, and get started on making these two pieces. So I got it all cleaned up, and I got the piece placed there. I went over and I found this old piece of scrap steel I got there. It seems to be roughly the right width that I want to have it for here, to go along here like so. So I'm going to cut off strips of this now and set it up right here, and then weld it on across here, and weld it on across here, and not worry about this end down here. And I got to trim this off because it's a funny piece I got to make right here. But I'm going to leave that one to last. I just want to get the two sides done. So I'm going to head down, clean up that, trim it up, get two pieces out of it. Now isn't that just ugly? All I'm concerned about here is I wanted to get the flow. You can see the flow of that there now. And I wanted to get the angles of everything that had to be done. So the angles there, and there's an angle here. These are the angles I'm after. And the actual width itself. I got to put a tapered edge in here. I got to dress this after the fact. But all I need to do here now is I want to get these here dressed up. I want to get them welded on the inside. That's the crucial part. Okay? And that way I can turn around and grind this off and dress it off. And then I can cut this one here off, cut this here off, get it out of my way for now. I'm going to leave it a bit long, just so I got something there to work with, because I got to taper this back. That's what I got to do. But that's the process of what I'm going to do here now, is basically build one piece at a time. I want to get the shapes. Now, when this is laid in place, okay, over and exaggerating it, if we lay this here now, this whole thing has to go like that, okay? It has to move up and in. I'll have to trim off this inside edge after, because this here is below it. And this here is below it, okay? So this whole thing has to go in that direction there in order for all this to work. And to get a nice edge here and a nice edge here. These are the crucial spots right here and here that you got to be concerned about. So I'm going to go ahead now, get this all trimmed up and welded on the inside and get it all grind dressed up so I get the same look as like what I got done here. Nice rolled edge. I'll get that done. As you can see, got it all welded up. And I welded up on the outside. Then I dressed it. So I got them done. I'm just going to turn around now and clean these up a small bit. I got the grinding stone here with a stone on it. The stone has got a curved cheek to it. I just want to clean this up a small bit so I can see if I can possibly get it to fit. Because right now this is interfering with the overlap. So I'll get these cleaned up now so I can actually move on to the next piece. So I got that cleaned up inside. Just used the stone, that's all I did. Just so I can actually get it so it will overlap there like so. Now, next thing I got to build now is this section right here. Right along here, coming along through here. Now, this is not a right angle. If you take this here and lay that there like so, you can see that that's not a right angle. So I'm going to have to do this by hand. I got a piece of metal here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to mark out the actual two sides of it on this here. By laying it in place there, marking it, and that way then I got my outside edge. I'm going to use as much of this as possible as I can, because I want to leave a little bit of leeway out here so I can trim it off after the fact. I don't want to cut this precise right here, right? So I'm going to go ahead now and get this marked up. So I got this here. I got straight edge now because that's pretty wonky. I'm going to make a straight edge there and a straight edge across there. And then I'm going to cut that piece out there. What I'm going to do, I'm going to come up here about probably 2 inches. Come in here 2 inches and cut that off there. So then I can start trimming it to fit to go inside the unit. So I was there and I was trimming it up, and I give myself 2 inches. This is the original one that I drew, okay? And then I came in here 2 inches and start cutting it off. Then I start thinking, the reason why I was giving myself so much room is because I had to be concerned about this turn here. This don't go on a 90 and a 90 here, or like a sharp edge. This rolls around the corner. So I said, I'll give myself lots of room so when I start trimming it up, I'll be able to fit it. But then when I start trimming it up, I said, Tony, just cut it on a 45 through there. That'll give you a bit of room. And it seems now like it's... that's going to work out perfect. I just got to round out this corner now. Now, it is bigger, it's longer. Don't be concerned about it. I got lots of meat there to hold on to and make sure everything's flowing good. It's a bit long over here. I'm debating on what to do right here. If I'm going to cut that out a separate piece and weld it in and then put this piece in after. Because all this is good here and all this is good here. It's just right here. You can see the back side of it there is bad there. But I want to replace it from right here over. But if I come right to here, I got to deal with... an inlay in here coming across here, and I got a corner to fight with a piece. I don't know what way I'm going to do that yet. I'll decide that when I get to it. I might come right to here and have a line here and coming up this way for my weld. So that way I'll do it all in one piece. So anyway, what I got to do now is I got to round this out. I'll just take a grinder now, start rounding it out and test fitting it here so that it fits nice right here. Because right now it's up in the air, so I want this here to round out. So here's what I got. I turn around now and I round out that corner. And I kept fitting it till I got in there and I looked at it. Got to come down through there and come across there, and I clamped it on. so that it is actually flush with the rusty metal. Now that along there is pretty rugged, but you get the point. So I got that done. So then I started to trim this up and fit this. Now what I had to do here is that I had to thin this section out, because now this is overlapping this over here. I made this here so it was sitting flush on this piece here. So now that this is overlapping, I had to have this here. So this came down so that this here was the same roll as what this is here when this all moves this way, okay? So you always got to be thinking about different things when you're at this stuff, for sure. But you can see now I got this all trimmed down here. I got to trim it down a little small bit more here to get this to lay flat here. So this lays flat on the panel here, and it gives me an edge here, and I can weld it in along here. I'm going to do this piece last, but I want to get this welded together here. So I'm going to trim this up a small bit, clamp this in place where I'm happy where it's at, and then I'm going to weld it on. So I went ahead, clamped everything on, had a lot of voice grips going on there, and then I turned around and then tack welded it on. Then I went ahead and welded it on whereas to. That way it gets a chance to cool to the shape that I got it clamped to. I'll let that cool off there now, and then I can take it off and I can work it through the rest over on the bench. I can start working on getting this curved edge put in, get the back side of it all welded, and get it all dressed up. Not worried about the length of this, okay? This is all gives it strength to make the actual panel nicer. And I can trim that all up after the fact. So I just grinded that off with the stone there and worked it around the edge. I'll probably go back and touch it up again because I like to have this one here really nice. But for now, I'm going to leave it alone. I got to adjust it. It's just got to be touched up now because I still got to do this section here. And now, if you look closely at the picture here, you can see the way that the actual corner, it's just a curvature. And it follows this curve here, it goes in a direction like this here, and then it just curves around the edge here. So I got a flat piece of metal here now. I'm going to curve it and put it on the angle and start trimming it to fit. That's all I'm going to do with it. All I did, I just went over the pipe anvil, just done a quick little curvature around it, nothing serious. Now, this is the angle I got to have it on, okay? Coming down this way here. So what I got to do now is I got to get this point down to here. So I'm going to start trimming up the sides of this here, so this will come straight down. Not going to worry about the top here. I'm going to worry about getting this bottom edge here, so it actually got the curvature on this here. So I'm just going to start trimming this up bit by bit, fitting in place. I want it on this angle here, because that's the way it looks to be in the picture, like that. So that'll have to come down this way on an angle like that. Here's where I'm up to. I've been just slowly trimming it, fitting it, trimming it. I'm going to have to dolly some of it now, or hammer some of it when I put it in place. I'm trying to get this corner figured out. Not worried about none of this up here. I want to get this here welded on and get these two sides going up here right. Then I'll just start cutting it off and grind that flat. And then I can weld that on there. But I'm more concerned on getting the angle and getting this point here and getting all that straightened away. So this here flows down here and flows around the corner here. So I'll go ahead now, get these welded on here and start dialing this up here and dialing this up here so I can get it welded up. So all I'm doing is I'm just dialing it in so it fits in that corner nice, okay? I just did the same thing over here. Then I come back and I dialed it. Or hammered it is what I did more than anything else. And I'm going to weld that in there now, and then I can trim the top side off. But you can see the shape is coming there now. And there's the angle that I want to sit on like that, see? So I went ahead and I dollied the edge over here and I welded it. Then I flipped it over here and I welded it on the inside here. And then I come over here and I just chopped it off. Now I'm going to take the grinder and shape all this here. I'm going to re-weld this cornered edge up here and get a nice rolled edge. So this here body line rolls down around here like it's supposed to. And then this tapers off. Mostly now is all that's left there now is a bit of grinding and stuff like that. So I'll go ahead now and get that all done. So if I have to grind it off now and then I have to go back and re-weld a few spots, I'm going to go get this all dressed up. Roll off the edge, off the corner. Everything tapers back. You look straight at it, got the little curved edge on it. Right. There's the back side of it there where the pieces are welded in it. I just grind it flat there. I'll leave that there. I'll probably clean that up later on with a die grinder. Just clean it up before I paint it. But that fits in there now. Next thing I have to do now is trim this up to size. Not gonna worry about this, but here and here. And then I gotta start marking this here and trimming stuff out of the way so I can get this here to fall. It's gotta go up. And it's got to go over as well. So in other words, it's got to go in this direction here to get everything to fit nice, because I got to get this edge here now and this edge here lining up. That's my crucial edges. Everything else I can actually hammer and dolly, but I got to get this here a nice flow down through here and a nice flow across here. So I got it trimmed. I want to put the whole piece in there. And I got it laid in place there now, and I turn around and I marked it up here and I marked it over here. Now these sections right here on these panels, there's like stretch marks in across here that come out about an inch on each of the panels. I'm going to try to duplicate them right there. I marked the base, the bottom of the actual, the ripple that got to be there. And I'm going to mark that. I got to mark there so they're there. But what I'm going to do here first now is I'm going to come back here now, just trim this out, leave the marker there, trim everything out of my way so I can start fine tuning this so I can actually get the piece fitting in there. Now I've been here, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes or so, and all I've been doing is trimming everything up, fitting everything in place, lining up stuff, trimming it back. When I put the marker down and I cut it off, then when I moved everything in, I had to cut the marker off there and I had to cut the marker off there. And I got this here, so it fits in there pretty good. It's got a nice seam there. This edge here lines up nice. This edge here lines up nice for me. And I turned around and got in through here. I had to remove these three lines again. You can see these three little indents here. I'm going to hit them coming out into here. They weren't exactly centered. I want to be able to hit right on the marker there now, and then they'll be able to line up, right? I'm just going to go over to the vise now and open up the vise a small bit and get a hammer and put three little dents in there. All I'm using is the opening in the vise itself. And I have an old masonry hammer here, and I'm just going to hit that down into that. I'll have a piece of metal there. Get that positioned. I'll hold that there like so. Take my hammer. This is going to be hard to do. One. Two. There's my three little indents in there. See little wrinkles in it. I'll dolly it up down. I can put that in place. Just wanted to show you how I got it all trimmed out. All cut out of the way. I cleaned that up there now. I got the three little indents in it. Go down a lot there. And they'll line up the three of them there. They'll just continue on down around the corner. And I'm going to turn around now, clamp that place there now, and weld it in. I find when you put a lot of time into preparation and getting everything fitting and concentrating on the little details like these edges here, when you're going to put something like this in, it just falls right into place. Like this here went along really nice. It was a nice seam all the way along there, and I can just weld it up. I just lined up this edge here and welded it. I came over here and lined up this edge over here and welded it, and then I just went ahead and started welding it all up. So I got it all welded up. What I'm going to do here now is I'm going to flip it over. I'm going to weld all the inside, so all that's done, and that way I can turn around, come out here and dress this all up. Here's what it looks like before I weld everything up. You can see this inside edge here. There's a bit of a lip here. I'm going to grind that down a small bit. I'm going to weld it all in here, weld it all up along there, and weld it across there. And that way I got lots of meat in there. I'll just clean this up a small bit here. I'll make this flat here and this flat here, but I'll leave a little bit of beef neatness on this section here just to give it strength. And that way I can finish off the other side, right? So that way I haven't got to worry about it being too thin, because I got a bit of meat on the back side where I done the repair. See the transition there? It's a nice smooth one going along there. All that looks right nice. It looks down across that there. Looked in across the bottom here. Nice transition. All that there is nice inside. Flows off to the corner here. Just flows up around the corner. I got the 3 little indents there that go up into the side of that. All I have to do here now is to cut this off and cut this off the length. Put a straight edge along here and a straight edge along here. I'll flip it over to do that because it's probably easier to lay a straight edge on it. And I'll cut 2 of them off, and then I just got to round out this corner. And that'll be done, other than I got to put the holes in it for the rubber boot. But let's get this here cut first. Here's what it looks like. I had to sneak up on it. I trimmed so much off. Then I eyeballed it and I trimmed it. Then I test fitted the actual door skin itself. And then I noticed some more had to be trimmed off. And this is what I've been doing here now. I've been putting the door skin on and then actually fitting it and then grinding it off and fitting it and getting it where I'm happy where I want it to be, right? But that's it for that. All I have to do now is I got to put that little square hole right here, that little slotted hole, so I can actually put the other rubber back in place that was on these here. So I can turn around now and start drilling up the holes for that. But pretty well, this is it now. What I got to do now is I got to treat all this here, clean it all up. And I'm going to put rust converter on all the lips all the way around on the inside. And I'm going to paint this here and paint it on the inside. Paint the inside edge of the actual door skin. Scuff all that off. I got to drill some holes in this here for plug welds. Same with on the bottom and on the other side. So I can get them all done. Turn around now and start working on this. I'm just going to drill 2 holes and I'll mark out where I got to go. I got my little template over here. I'm going to lay that in place there now, position it, and mark it out. I turn around, I got it laid in place there now. This is the original piece there. Now this here would have to come up, and this here would have to go in. So you can see the edge worm too. So this would have to go in this way here, that also have to go up. So I'm pretty pleased with if that being the spot there. I'm going to mark that out there now, and that'll be the spot I'll have to cut out. Well, the cold weather is upon us. It's the first time I had to fire that up the air. That's how I heat this garage. Just simple little electric heaters. Another one over there. Up in the ceiling, that one's not on yet. But the weather's after cooling down here. So, today's the first day. Had to turn the heat on. That's it. But here I am here now. And you can see the markings that I got there. Okay? I got to cut that out. I was going to drill a couple of holes, but in the past, I've always found that when I drills the hole, I'm always off to one side or the other on the holes. It's kind of hard to actually get it. It's like if you punch a hole there, and your hole is like a little bit off to one side, as you make the holes, the actual hole will move left or right on you. just because your line wasn't exactly perfect when you done it, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn around and cut this out with a zip cut wheel. Yes, a zip cut wheel. My little air grinder, this is the one I use, is on a 24. What I have here is an old cutting wheel. It's the smallest one I got up there. So I'm going to take this here now, I'm going to use this here, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a section out of it so I can get a file in there to file it. So all I'm going to do is take this grinder here and just cut that down through there like that and cut a section out of it, and I stay within that line that I got marked there, and then I'll turn around and take a file in and file it, and then I'll have that done. You're having a hard time seeing what I got done there. I've after grinding it out now to the point there, I just got a dent there and I got the lines, you can still see the lines that are there. But I can't get through it without going past the line, so now I gotta take a drill now, drill this out in the center of this and stay inside them two lines. Not an easy one, I can tell you that. I just keep going up bit sizes, but I gotta be careful here now because I'm pretty well tight to the line on one side. Slow process. Put up more. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead, I'm just going to file it with two of these files here. When that comes back, it'll be done. And there you have it. All I finished it off with was this file here. Small one. I just put it in there and just kept filing it till I got it where I wanted it. I'm happy with that there now. So that's done there now. What I'm going to do here next is I'm going to go ahead, prep all this stuff here, get some rust converter on it all. So here's what I'm applying. This ProForm rust converter. I've used this stuff in the past, okay? We all don't have access to sandblasting everything, and I can honestly tell you when it comes to bodywork, sandblasting can be a real pain. Unless you have the entire car stripped down to nothing, you can ruin a car by sandblasting it because sand builds up in the car, it hides in crevices, holds moisture, and rusts out, okay? With sand itself. Not only that, I found that I've after seen it getting caught up in window tracks, window levers, all this type of stuff, and scratching up glass over time. Like sandblasting is a wonderful thing, gets rid of all the rust, but it just adds to another problem that you're going to have with the project, okay? I've used this stuff many times in the past. On my other channel, I done a truck that I done, I think it was almost 20 years ago now. And the roof was all full of heavy surface rust. And I done the roof with this stuff here. And the truck is painted black. And it's been almost 20 years now. And it's still perfect. It hasn't broken out none. I've experimented with this years ago. It's good gear. I like it. I used it on Krusty. I'm going to use it on this one here. I'm just going to do all my rust. Like, you just clean off the heavy rust. Wipe it all down best you can. Put this on it. Let it dry. And then primer it over the top of it. Okay? That's usually the case with that. Don't apply to regular metal. I'm not worried about it inside the door. I want to cover everything up because I'm going to give everything a spray bomb. This is only protection. I'm only concerned about that 1 inch going right around where the skin is mounted. The rest of it is inside the door and you're really not going to see it. The outside of the door later on will be all sanded and prepped and primed and painted later on, whoever's doing the bodywork. But for now, I want to cover up everything that I'm going to be closing in that you're not going to see no more or work with no more. I'm going to put rust converter on it and then prime it. When I say prime it, I mean paint. I'm going to put a rust paint on top of it that'll actually help seal it up. So it'll be like a double whammy with this here, then rust paint on top of it. You could probably use like an etch primer or a well-through primer. I've seen a lot of guys using that. That well-through primer is extremely expensive, and I've had lots of troubles with it in the past when it comes to welding and stuff like this, but it'd be good for this here. You can do everything with etch, with that well-through primer, because that's supposed to stop everything as well. But this is the way I'm going to do it here now. I've done it in the past and it works. So you can see it here. I've done a little spot here. Okay, you can see that it's actually turning black. That's what I wanted to do. Once it turns black, I know then that it's locked out. You can see it down here turning black. So I'm going to go ahead now and do all the rest of this. I tried to put a bit more here just to check, see what was going on with it. That still hasn't set up yet. So I'm just going to go on and do the rest of it there now. So I got it done along the edges here. I got all the inside done as well. I'm going to let that set up now for a while and go and grab some lunch and then basically come out then and prime it all. As you can see, the stuff turns black. And like some places, like right along here, you see that there's like it's discolored. That's just the paint in that. It won't turn black, but it'll turn black on rust, okay? Anywhere there's rust, it'll turn black. Up along here, you can see like where there's bare metal. There's absolutely, there's no rust on it, right? So, that's just the process of it. Turns black. I know this is ready now, so I'm going to go ahead now and paint all this. Paint it on the other side as well. I'm going to get the actual door skin prepped and get the holes drilled in it like I want to get drilled in it, and get that all painted on the inside too, so there's paint on that as well. The biggest problem you got is in here between the pinch weld right here. This is where these always rusted to, and it was more along the lines that like down in these corners, stuff used to build up in the corners, and then moisture used to get down in between these here, and then they'd rust. That's the reason why the corners rusted off these doors. Not because of salt and everything, it's just that this is all bare metal. You don't see it as much today on modern cars. A lot of modern cars now got coatings on everything, so the bodies on the cars usually last longer. For some reason, rocker panels still don't. Everything has a rocker panel rotting off it, but it's very rare now that you come across a door with a bottom gone on it, or like a fender that's rusted out and stuff like that. Usually is where everything takes a lot of abuse. They're the spots where everything is, where the mess is too. Anyway, got that all done. I'm going to get this prepped up here now and get everything painted up. Well, it started off cold. It's a nice old day out there now. Not many leaves left on the trees, but there's still some. So I'm here now, and what you saw me stand there, I went and turned around and drilled the ends of this here for spot welds. You see them here. I think they're 3/16, the holes are going along there. You only need a few of them. It's just enough to hold the skin on. It's the way it was from factory. There wasn't a whole bunch of them in it. Don't get carried away with it. Some people might just turn around and they might want to glue this on. I've seen fellas do that in the past. Glue it on and you know, to glue the panel on so there's no welding in it at all. But for me, I'm a bit of a stickler for like the way it was done factory, because I went and marked where all the spot welds were to from factory on these. So I went and put the holes back in there again when I want to weld it on like the way it was done from factory. I sanded the inside edge here because I got to paint this here. I went and stripped off the black paint on the outside here, because when I start hammering on this, in the past I've found that this stuff here starts to flake off and then you got a mess inside the door. So I strips all the paint off the edge of it, all the way around there, so there's nice and smooth, and there's no paint running on it. There wasn't a lot on this, but I don't know, it's just forced to have it. And then I just sanded my edges and cleaned them all up and got everything ready. So that's basically it. I just got to paint that now and then let it dry, and then I'll be ready to put that skin on. So I was running low on paint, so all I was concerned about was getting it where it was all going to be closed in. If the guy who restores the car wants to do anything with that, he can. Sometimes they're undercoated in here. You can get them so you can undercoat this section here, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to leave that alone. That's up to the owner or the person who's restoring the car wants to do it. But I just painted it along here and along the bottom here, because this is where everything's going to be folded over. You're not going to see none of it. It's going to be hard to get at it. I want to paint on it. You saw me there doing some hammer and dolly work there earlier. There was a couple of dents right here. I went and dollied them out, hammered them out. A good sanding on the other side now. I should be able to have them nice and smooth. I'm trying to avoid any damage that I can possibly do before I go rolling this over, because anything that's down here now, if I had to leave that dent there, you never would be able to fix it. You would have just had to fill it, and from the other side, that would have been it. So I went and dollied that out. I looked over the rest of it. This door skin's been around a while. I know that for a fact because it's older. I had to sand the edges of it all along here. I was afraid like there's a little bit of debris and stuff on it, and I'm afraid that when I start hammering over on it, that's going to actually dent it up. So I went and sanded all the back side of it here. So now I just got to wait for that to dry, and then we can start putting it together. So now I just got that laid in place there. You can see the way it fits and everything. What I'm going to do here now is up here, I got to make sure this is pulled all the way up on this side here and pull up tight, because this is the thing about this here door. It has to be in one position. This here has to be tight on the top, and then the sides will fall in place, and so will the bottom. Same with over here. You can see that it has to come up. So like a lot of times the door skin is just on the outside here, but this actually got a top on it. So it's got to be all the way up for everything to work right, because this has to fold over onto a lip here. So I'll clamp it here, and I'll clamp it over there, and then I'll work on clamping this down here somewhere, I think probably about here somewhere on the four corners, so I can actually hold it in place so I can start dollying it on. So here's what I got done. What I did first is I went and clamped it up here on the top here in the corner here, and the top over there, okay? Now, anytime you go clamping anything like this on, I prefer, like, use a piece of heavier gauge metal to put on the back side of it so you don't damage the panel. I've done the same thing over here. You can get vice grips that got the pads on them, but they're on both sides. And I prefer sometimes, like in the case of this one here, I don't have room for the wider pad, and I just use a piece of metal. Just don't go clamping it directly to the panel itself, because you'll end up denting it up, right? Down here on the bottom, I've done something a little bit different. I haven't got angle iron, but I got this 1.5 by 1.5 square stock. It's nice and straight. And I always like doing my bottoms with a long piece of metal, a piece of angle iron, piece of square stock, something, and I clamp it on. That way it stays nice and straight. When you start hammering dollying that there, you're hammering it down, you're dollying it up, and then next thing you know, you got a tendency to get this wave going the full length of it. At least this way here now, I got a consistent, nice straight edge there that I can hammer to. So now all I got to do is just hammer this over. Now when you're hammering over the door skin, do not fold it right over. Take it so far right across, come back, fold it a bit more, and a bit more. Don't hammer it right on over so it's flat, because you're going to stretch the metal where it stands up, and then it's going to up and down. It's going to wrinkle everything up along here. So now we're moving on to the sides here. I've got repositioning the vice grips to clamp this down flush. What I got to do is roll this over. Now this is a curved edge, it's kind of hard to actually roll it over. Don't ever hold the dolly flat, okay, on your panel like that. Because every time you hit it, you're bouncing the dolly. And these corners here are like dented, okay? I always put my fist across it and have it so all I got is this edge. Turn this around, put it on right. All I got is this edge, like that. And then I'll hammer over into this here. So all I got touching is this spot right here, touching on the dolly here, nothing else. If you hold it flat, that's going to rock back and forth. So I'll just put the glove on and let it rest up against the body, and that brings this up to it. Same process, taking a bit at a time. Last thing I like to do now is I got a shadow from light coming in here, and you can see it going up and down. Some spots are higher than the other, and all I'm doing, I'm hitting it right on the edge there and just going along and looking for them spots and giving myself a consistent line right along there. So I got a nice roll. So you can actually see it actually rolled over. And you can see this is this line I'm talking about right here. The shadow. Go along there. Now up here you'll see the shadow change because this is not folded over there, right? But I'm looking to get that a nice consistent shadow all the way down through there. And up through there, right? There it is along the bottom. Same thing up along there. So I got to go ahead now and dolly up a few more of these here. I get this corner up here. Same process, but I'll be using the dolly all up here. Just taking my time, folding it all over. And I'll get that done. As simple as that. Done. All I got left to do now is go back and weld all these up, and grind them up, and then the door skin's finished. I haven't looked at the other side yet to see how much of it I got bashed up. But I can remember being out in the trade when I first done it, and I never knew the tricks and everything, stuff like that. Oh boy, I used to do some damaged door skins. Right? Then you had to fill the hole outside the edge of the door. Good old days. But yeah, I'll get them few spots welded up there now, and we call this one done. And up here, there's 2 spots that just had little beads put on them. So I'll put them back in there. I'm just going to knock the head off them. They'll be fine. That's the way they were from factory. So I just duplicated what was there. I'll go ahead now, get all them grinded up, and then this door's done. Just a little knock the head off with the little 24. They come out very nice and smooth. Right? So you can feel them. And done all that all along there and up the other side. Door skin's done. Let's flip it over and see what kind of a mess I got. So here's where we're to with it. Door skin is all done. It's pretty good. I got a little spot right here. And then of course this where the little bit of damage was there. The rest of it is good though. All the way up along here, all that's good. All that feels good up along there. Down around the bottom here. All that's good. But there you have one install of a door skin. It's pretty straightforward when you're actually doing the actual skin itself. It's just that the preparation, the reason behind like the corner, having the rusted out corner, having to repair that. That's what made this time consuming. Other than that, it would have been pretty quick. But that's how you install a door skin. I haven't done one of them in years. I say it's probably going to be another bunch of years before it does another one. Anyway, that's it for this one. I hope the tips were good. And until next time.